I talk to people who come here in Hawaii, which is where I'm based out of, and our ocean experience is totally different. When you get to the airport, it actually has a huge sign at the baggage area that basically says, "These are not your mama's waters. We are not like you're used to from the mainland." Because even with California, you have this beach. And of course, where you are, you got the continental shelf. You can go out 50 miles and you're only waist deep in water. And now we also have offices in San Francisco since we're involved in artificial intelligence in terms of being able to try to help people understand what their home's risks may be to a lot of this disastrous weather that we've got now already and what's going to get worse.
Or when we say, okay, I'm on the coast in Mississippi. Katrina come through about 26 years ago and gave us a rude
Been a while.
awakening.
Yeah.
And I know, like after that, they had some grant programs through the state where it was you could go in and you could add supports to your house up in the
Hmm.
roof and all over, and you could order your blinds or whatever. What do you call that? That would
Yeah. The
have them.
hurricane
Yes, the
shutters.
shutters would be
Right.
fitted in, and it was fitted in. It was going to be fit to your house, and it was
Right.
helping on insurance and everything. And I know at that point I believe they paid half of it, the state, if I'm not
Hmm.
mistaken. So instead of it being $30,000, you may pay 15, and then you're going to save money through the
Right.
year by having all these extras for
Hmm.
just in case. So is
Plus,
that
you also
kind
wind
of?
up with a reduction in your insurance costs.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. So, I mean, is that kinda along the lines of it kinda gives you an
Yeah, we kind
idea?
of take that to the next level. You're one of about 4 states right now that have implemented any kind of what we call a remodeling or remediation
Okay.
programs. You've got Florida has one, which basically deals with the hurricane element, just like you were describing.
Yeah.
Alabama has a very good one. They're probably the leader right now in the sense of
Really?
you can get that pretty much 100% paid for if you do everything to a standard that they've established from the insurance companies called the Fortified program. Mississippi is picking up a lot of the slack. Most of what they've been dealing with has been more on the coast where you're located right now
Yeah.
to be hurricane prevention for wind and storm surge. Not so much when you go further inland for the tornadoes, because Dixie Alley for the tornadoes runs right through the middle of the state for
Yes.
Alabama, Mississippi, and
That's why
Georgia,
everybody says, "Are we
starting in
gonna go up
Texas.
north?" No. I'm not going up north when a storm comes.
No, no, yeah, because all the tornadoes get spun off of the hurricane and they wind
Yeah.
up there to get you. Now you have to go
Oh,
about
true.
500 miles inland to get around all that mess. But it's a really, I think the other state that's really done a lot has been California with wildfire, which of course,
That
has now
I
become,
know they got what was it last year they got beat up really bad with it?
yeah, last January is when they had the Palisades fire, which took down probably 350 out of 400 homes. And that was just there. Then the Eaton fire, they're trying to. That's part of the problem that we're trying to address as well with Futureproof, is to give people a pipeline of being able to work what these government programs are, the low cost loans that are associated with that stuff, all of the different pieces that go into trying to do the recovery phase. I guess what we've focused on is we kind of look at the whole problem with 3 silos. The first one is to try to educate people about the fact that they have a problem and identify what those problems may be, like wind, wildfire, flood, water, about 7 different disasters that we deal with. And what our system does is you can walk around your house with your cell phone. It makes a video of that, and then it examines that in terms of building a model of your house, determining what the materials are, and then making recommendations of
Oh,
what you
wow.
can do to fix it. And so that tunes into your neighborhood, because your house is just part of a community.
Mhm.
Community is part of the state, and you may be in a region that happens to be wildfire, or the coastal areas that are all more hurricane prone, or like Dixie Alley. where all the tornadoes run through that section. And then, of course, we have another tornado zone that is the one that runs through Oklahoma, Nebraska, and stuff. So we really now have two tornado alleys that are both equally as dangerous and do as much destruction. But so we really focus that first silo on trying to help you understand whether you have a problem or you don't have a problem. You know, some people may do this and, hey, you score really low. You don't really have any risks. At least you have the peace of mind of knowing that you're not going to have a problem. And we don't charge anything for that software. You can download it on your phone today, and it'll tell you what you want to know. Then the second piece is what we call the remediation. That's where if you have a problem, the AI system can say, "Oh, okay, your house has got wood siding on the outside of it, and you're in a fire zone. That's dangerous.
Okay.
This is what you have to do to change the siding. This is how much material you'll need. This is what the labor costs in your zip code." And it'll print you out a set of plans and budgets. And if you want, it'll connect you to a contractor if you don't want to do it yourself. So it basically tells you what you need to do. And that qualifies you too for these discounts with the insurance companies.
Wow.
It also, yeah, another thing, a report came out last month that if you don't do anything to your house whatsoever, and you're in one of these risk areas, which we now have 37 million homes that are at extreme risk. A lot of property out there.
Mhm.
That's about $22 trillion worth of real estate that's at risk. This is where the insurance companies are coming in and going, boy, we just can't afford you. We're just going to have to
Yeah.
give you no
Yeah.
insurance at all because we
Mhm.
can't take the chance because the storms are getting more intense, they're getting more frequent, and the general trend line, which we don't get into any of the climate argument, but we just say, look out your window. Did your neighbor's house have a tornado 2 months ago? Was there another tornado before that one 6 months ago? So
Right.
it's just the trend. And as long as that trend continues, we're going to see these storms get more frequent, become more extreme. But then the third silo that we have is we're working to tie in the emergency alert systems like you have from your weather radar, what you may be getting in from what's called PAWS, which is the FEMA version of weather radar that comes on your phone. You know, it beeps real loud and an unintelligible voice basically says, ruff, 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 ruff. And it sounds like
Just
Charlie
when I
Brown's
hear that
teacher.
those bells or whatever,
Yeah.
just get on the
Yeah.
floor,
You
you
do.
know.
Well, that's pretty much the case. What we're doing is we're tying it in. We have what's called an intelligent agent with our AI that actually has a calm and soothing voice. And so
Okay.
it's called a comfort bot. So what we're doing is tying the emergency alert in that we've already scanned your house. We know what your risk is. We know what the house is made out of. And we basically help you identify that, if you have use the tornado example, if you have to go to the best room, if you can't evacuate, if they say you need to, we're going to identify that, okay, this bathroom is going to look the best. We're going to go grab a mattress over the bed and off the bed. We're going to get in the tub and cover ourselves because we
Okay.
haven't got time to evacuate. So what the voice will be able to do is basically say, okay, there's an alert. They're giving you, 45 minutes to evacuate or 15 minutes to evacuate. We help to prepare you with a go bag that's got your medicines in it, all your important documents. So you're prepared for this possibility, even though you hope it never hits you. You know that, great, that bag can sit on the shelf for years and you may never need it. Like a case. And it basically looks at Google Maps and it looks at where the roads are jammed up. So it may come on there and say, hey, they're told you to evacuate, but right now all the roads are choked. You can't get to one of these shelters that we're showing you in enough time. So we're going to have to shelter in place. So it helps you make these decisions without having, and to do it in a calm voice. Because, I mean, if somebody says there's something getting ready to hit your house in 30 minutes, that's a little disruptive. You may be
Totally.
running around going, okay, now what do I do here? What do I do this? And in this case, your phone is basically in a calm and soothing voice saying, hey, we're getting ready to have to evacuate here. Let's go get our go bag. Do we fill the car up with gas? If not, do we have any gas in the lawnmower can? Should we put this in the car too? Okay. Because we've already programmed all these scenarios. And so it's there to help. Hopefully, it could save your life. And the only thing we
Mhm.
need is just the information from FEMA or from the Weather Service that says it's coming, because we're also tied into those same weather systems as well. So we see it on the radar. We know what's going on. And all of this is automated through artificial intelligence.
L um, let's talk on the older homes. Some of my buyers and sellers, they want to start doing some of the extra work, to make their house stronger and sturdier.
Yeah.
But a few people's like, well, my house is 67 years old, and you can still get things that will fit and work for that, even if the
Hmm.
houses are older home. I mean, it's still your home. I mean, any way you could protect your home, we carry insurance on it. We carry every kind of insurance on it now, just about.
Even
So,
with the insurance, though, the insurance is not going to cover everything. You're lucky if you
no,
come out with it covering 65%.
right.
That and your thing about the older homes, you don't know how right you are about that. The average home in the United States now is 60 years old.
Hmm.
And the technology it was built with was right after WW2. And that's 75-year-old
Yeah.
technology. Everything is still stick framed. In fact, I make the joke when I'm doing conferences and stuff that biggest innovation in construction was drywall. We didn't have to plaster our walls anymore. But other than that, it's all pretty much the same. And anything before 72 is really at risk because that's when they made you start putting the hurricane clips and actually
Hmm.
bolting your house down to the concrete. We go back in because we have a construction company that we do remediation. We'll go into some of these houses that the 2x4s are literally nailed into the concrete. There
Wow.
are no bolts. There's nothing set in the concrete other than those nails. And
Mine
so,
was in tar. My house had wood floor, and after Katrina, I had a few people tell me, "Don't pull up the floor," and I'm like, "I think I need to because it was, it's an it's an older home, the house was built in
yeah,
the
yeah,
50s, and I just felt like there was gaps, and I kept having that smell, and it was the mold, so I started just pulling up a
yeah,
couple of them, and sure as
yeah,
you can't pull up one or two, so I had to take the whole
yeah.
out of
Once
the
you
whole
start,
house. Well, I
yeah,
jackhammered for about a week just to get the tar of the concrete. When then
yeah,
somebody comes
yeah.
by, you could have just threw some
That was
concrete
very
on top
typical for
of it.
your area. Yeah, very typical in terms of how the construction techniques that are on the coast.
Mhm.
From having, being from Memphis, we spent our summers down on the Gulf Coast. We were down in Orange Beach, we were down in Biloxi, we were going down. The big trip that would happen every few years was to go to Destin. Whoa,
Whoa,
all the way that
hello.
far into
Yes.
Florida. No Miami Beach.
A
Yeah.
little 2 hours away from Pascagoula. That's why I'm saying this location's fantastic to go anywhere, you know.
Well, it is. I mean, you can go west to go to New Orleans. You
Hour and a half,
basically
you're
can
in New
go, yeah,
Orleans.
you can go up to Nashville if you want to go,
Yeah.
Music City and stuff. Yeah, it definitely is. And the Gulf is so unique. I talk to people who come here in Hawaii, which is where I'm based out of, and our ocean experience is totally different. When you get to the airport, it actually has a huge sign at the baggage area that basically says, these are not your mama's waters. We are not like you're used to from the mainland. Because even with California, you have this beach. And of course, where you are, you got the continental shelf. You can go out 50 miles and you're only waist deep in water
Right.
as far as the Gulf is concerned. So, that's a totally different animal. You go out 500 yards here, water's 20,000 feet deep.
Shoot.
It's like drops straight down to the bottom when you get out there because it was really started. It's a volcano. It was formed with a volcano. So when you get out past whatever little beach we have, and our beaches are not extensive, and a lot of them are just rock in that sense. You see all these wonderful beaches in Hawaii that are in the postcards and stuff. Yeah, we've got those, and we trucked the sand in and poured it
Well, I tell
there.
you, I went for my 50th birthday. I wanted to go out and drive Highway 1 from
Yeah,
the Santa Monica Pier to the Golden Gate Bridge. So 2 days doing that, and oh my God, it was so pretty. And I was like, all right, I got to
yeah,
go.
it is.
The water was cold, of course, and the sand, it was almost rocky type. It was
It
real,
is.
yeah,
Yeah,
like Destin sand. Oh no, you can't compare
that
to
that stuff's
that.
like sugar. That's
Yeah,
like white sugar that's
totally,
down
and it
there.
just falls right off, but that other
Yeah.
stuff, it was almost like a grainy rock type
Yeah, well,
sand.
it's kind of how our sand is from the surf grinding this volcanic rock down over time. We have one beach that's called Magic Beach, and what makes it magic is that the beach disappears at night and it goes out into the water, and it's redeposited again the next day.
Wow.
So if you go down there at night, you may have 25 feet of beach, and you come back the next day and you've got 100 feet of beach that runs out to the water. And of course, it's different when the tides are high or tides are low. So it's a
And the moon.
constantly changing
Oh God, I bet that had to be
situation.
pretty. Did you see the what was it, blood moon a couple days ago?
Yes.
And
Yes, we did.
I bet y'all had a great view of that. Really did.
It was at 1:30 in the morning, and I got up just to take pictures of it. And I'd be
I
happy to
should have.
show
I
you
was
one if you want
awake
to see it.
anyway. I should have got
Yeah,
up there
well,
and
I
looked.
am too. You're in the same age group as me. It's called,
Well,
they
I
say you
love
don't need
that
as
though
much
at
sleep.
night.
I think it's a lie. Don't believe it.
No, I'm just like, what? No, I love doing that, just going out to the beach at night and watching that and lightning.
Yeah.
That's one of my,
Yeah.
that's one of my
That's
favorites.
that's beautiful. That's beautiful. I had a boat down in Key West for 3 years. I'd moved back from England, and when came back here, I was a single guy, and I had been working really high pressure job in structured finance. We would put together deals for like super tankers and oil platforms, and it would take
Oh,
2 years, and you got to juggle a whole lot of different people around to get everybody to agree, and there's like 50 different people who have to agree, which is, you kind of feel like herding cats in terms of trying to get everybody together. But when I was down there, I bought a sailboat and just said, okay, I'm just going to chill out and relax. That lasted about 8 weeks. And I was sitting down at the half shell raw bar and talking to your bartender, which your bartender, of course, is very similar to your father confessor. So I was complaining. I said, this coming down here and drinking a beer, at 3:30 every afternoon is going to get to be bad for my health, and I need to find something to do.
well, it
So a
wouldn't have
guy
been bad
around
if
the
you
corner,
walked there and had your beer. And
that would give me some exercise because it wasn't very far to get there to the marina. The guy around the corner says, well, I'll give you a job. And I said, well, okay, yeah, who are you? He said, well, I'm Mel Fisher. I salvage treasure. Would you like to come salvage treasure on the Atocha out in the Florida Straits? So I wound up working out there with him for about 2 years,
wow.
somewhere in that neighborhood. But the lightning at sea, because we would go out for weeks at a time, be on anchor, and you would see these storms just over the horizon that would be blowing by with just absolute balls of lightning.
Hmm.
That, and I got to see some of the sea witches, which are where they come up out of the ocean, and I don't know if they're gas or what, but old sailors used to think that they were, ghosts of dead sailors and stuff. And it would be like it would look, and they had a look that was ethereal, almost like a cartoon ghost, but it would be dancing on the water and moving around. And of
Wow.
course, if you didn't understand the fact that it was some sort of gas off process that had to do with the lightning and stuff, that and ball lightning that would go across the water and stuff. So you get out and you stick out in the middle of the ocean, maybe. Well, the horizon on the ocean's 50 miles. So if you're 100 miles out, you got nothing but horizon
Wow.
all the way around you. And there's a lot going on out there,
That's what I
us
love.
land
Look, I
people.
mean, I just sit on the beach all day and look, just
Yeah.
sit there. I mean, and even I
It
used to
is
get
that
off.
it's so soothing too with the surf and the
My
sound
God,
and yeah, it's just great for you. Great. You'll live a long time.
it keeps you lifted.
It
See,
does.
you stay lifted.
Well
That's
said. Well said.
I
Yeah.
mean, anytime you talk about going to the beach, I'm all over it. I mean, I was at the casinos. We got the casinos. I think we opened Biloxi Grand Casino in 1993 or 94.
94, if I remember, because I went down when they opened the barge,
Yeah, that's what I'm
because I was
thinking
in
because
Memphis then.
I remember I was going to be in their bank, working the bank and the cashier's front line and all that stuff, and up in the poker
Yeah.
room. Well, they told us, go out and enjoy. This will probably be the last New Year's Eve you'll ever have off. And they were not wrong.
No, yeah. No, New Year's Eve's big time. Yeah. Consulting job for Harrah's in Reno
Oh, wow.
back in the late 80s, I think is what it was. And I was working with Holiday Inn, who had bought Harrah's.
Okay.
And so we had Harrah's in Reno, and then we had the Showboat and a couple of other casinos that were down in Las Vegas. And the guy I was working with, they actually give an award for in his uncle's name because he was the guy who invented time motion studies. So he was basically there trying to figure out for the casino owners how to get people fed. In other words, how do you get them off the casino floor? How do you get them back on the casino floor? And this guy lived with a stopwatch. He
Wow.
lived by the stopwatch. So anyway, he's the one who came up with the idea for the buffets. that were right off the casino floor because he could get people on and off the casino floor. And that's why it had everything to eat on earth. And it's a buffet because you
And
don't have,
like you
you
said,
go in
in
there
and
with your plate, you put more than you're going to eat, you
yeah.
get it, you're full, and then you go back out and gamble.
And that's a win-win for casinos. Used to your pit bosses and all them had a little bit more leadway with writing the comps,
Yeah.
and that would
Yep.
make anybody's day. I mean, especially if I had new people playing that had never been there, they may be from North
Hmm.
Alabama, I call the floor, hey, they're new. Can we go feed them or something? And that brings them back.
Yeah.
Plus they got a
It
free
does.
meal.
Yep.
And they really, by the end of the night, they'd sit there like 8 hours playing blackjack on the table. So they really earned it in the
Yeah, no,
end.
I agree with you completely, especially since blackjack, of course, that was kind of my game of choice anyway. And it used to be that you actually had probably a 2/10 advantage,
Mhm.
in terms of how the cards would come out on an eight place, player table. And of course, now they went to six deck shoes. They've
Yeah.
got auto shufflers that are shuffling 20 decks, so I don't really think that that advantage probably exists anymore. But I know that when we had the buses come in from San Francisco into Lake Tahoe and to Reno up
Yeah.
there, and we would, of course, they'd be running the ads at the end of last month that basically says, come on up, cash your social security check with us,
Yeah.
and we're going to give you this grab bag of, and it's got coupons in there for, $20 a slot play and, buffet coupons and all the other little comps that went with it. And I remember one day I was walking across the slot floor with one of the managers toward the bus lanes, and the buses were just starting to come in. And of course, they were pouring into the casino as fast as you can hand out the gift bags that went with it. And they were carrying this woman off the bus in a fireman's carry. She was not able to walk.
Good.
And when they finally did get her off the bus, she could kind of barely hobble. And so they were holding her on each side, and she was walking around trying to figure out where she was going to get a machine with a chair in order to be able to play. So after surveying for about 5 minutes, she like points to this machine and they go over and they put her down in the chair. And she reaches into her purse and brings out a black golfing glove with the fingers cut out of it and
She's a
starts pulling them
professional.
nickels, just nickels and pulling that handle.
Yeah.
We just all kind of shook our heads. And, you can't really feel too bad about the gaming industry because that's what they do, and
Yeah,
what
and
you're
those
walking into, you
mhm.
have to understand that, it's like two things I always tell people, and that was never take your credit card in, take in how much money you're willing to consider spending on recreation, and you're never a winner till you get to the parking lot.
Right, and yeah, it took me one time to lose my
Hmm.
paycheck, because that was you come in and you can cash your paycheck.
That's right.
And you got a chance to spin the wheel. So tell them what they won, Dana. Boom, you win like a $20 match play or something.
Yeah. Yeah.
Meanwhile, 8 hours later, after I don't know how many Miller Lights and having to leave, I had no paycheck. It was gone. 2 weeks in like an 8 hour adventure. I'm like, As soon as direct deposit come along, I'm like, sign me up.
Yeah.
And I was like, I was so glad I did that because there were so many people that would do it every day, every 2 weeks. Get that paycheck, go to the next casino, and go gamble it on. I'm like,
Exactly.
that
Well, some people think that's their retirement. They're going to
right?
basically
Yeah.
figure that they're going to sit there and they're going to play Wheel of Fortune, which has got a $2 million jackpot, and they're just going to keep feeding those dollar
Mhm.
bills in order to think that that's going to pay, and that's the last day that they'll have to work for the rest of their life.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of aspects of gaming that you can kind of see where some
Because
folks get upset about it.
it's helped. I believe to me, it's helped the Gulf Coast. I mean, the whole
I never
area.
worked the cage, but I had a couple of people that I knew because I was there for about
Yeah.
a year on this job, and before I moved on to working the Trump Plaza build in Atlantic City.
Okay.
That was a trip. But anyway, though, the I was talking to one of the people who worked the cage, and they were talking about the pink slips. And I didn't really understand what the pink slips were, but these were like people's houses. These were their cars. These were their boats. This was their, their firstborn child, and all of that was collateralizing them to have a line and get more chips out of the cage that night.
I mean, and it would be like, can I have just a temporary increase for $50,000? And you're just like, wow.
It's-
And I know what would drive me crazy is like I had one lady that would come in all the time, like maybe every week or two, and she'd come up, she'd get $1,000 marker, and she'd go play the sizzling sevens. Well, after she went through maybe $12,000. I finally asked her,
oh,
I said, "What are you playing?" She said, "I'm playing those dollar sizzlings." I said, "The most you're gonna hit's $1,000." I said, "You've
yeah,
already
yeah.
blown through $12,000. I'll be putting that in
On the
something I'm
same
gonna hit."
machine.
Same machine. And I mean, every time she'd come in, she just kept doing it. But that was her entertainment. And like when
Yeah.
I get people that are
That's a
buying
lot. $12,000, a lot of entertainment. You can go to Italy for that.
$1,000 in one night, and it wasn't like nothing. It was nothing to them, And somebody told me one time because I said, "No, if I was like loaded, really, really rich, I would still be fine betting my little minimum and this and that." They're like, "If it don't hurt, it ain't gambling." I'm like, "It hurts too much.
Yes,
Trust me."
it can. It can. And of course, now, they after they got sued a few times, you've got
Yeah.
literally some governors that have not the governor of the state, but some governors, things to govern people's behavior in the
Hmm.
casinos, that if they see you're going down too far, then they will come and have a conversation with you. At least that's what I've seen in Las Vegas. I was just in
That's very
Vegas
good.
in January. Well, I mean, it doesn't do them any good PR wise for
No,
somebody to run around and say, "Yeah, I've lost my house," or "I've lost
no,
my car and I can't have a job now," because you got to have a car to have a job.
and that happens a
So anyway,
lot.
that's just not worth it. That
When we
the
first
PR
opened
value.
over there, it
Yeah,
happened a lot, and I mean, it was
yeah.
sad. It's horrible, But now,
Well, it was particularly bad when they opened the casinos that were on the riverboats, because they
uh
had Vicksburg and they had one that was down in Clarksdale, Mississippi, and then they had the ones that opened down on the Gulf Coast.
right,
And all of them opened kind of around the same time when Mississippi legalized riverboat gambling.
yeah,
And the problem was all up and down the coast, from the standpoint, because these people probably never would have made it to Vegas to actually gamble. They would have heard about going to Vegas,
true,
but now it's like 10 minutes up the road. And so they're going in there, and I don't think a lot of them really realized what they were getting into to a degree.
right.
But hey, that's, when people say, gambling's dangerous, they're not kidding. It
No,
can be,
and
just depends on who you are.
I've
I
seen so
never,
many people go and just blow it, and I'm like, "Oh my
yeah.
god." I'm like,
I used to play with, first of all, I usually play just blackjack. And I've kind of kept a tally for the year, in the sense of that if I was, how much did I win or lose? What did it add up to at the end of the year? And when I stopped actually going into a casino and playing blackjack, which I haven't played blackjack now in 25 years, but the last
"Wow."
time that I was in there playing, I was playing a lot. I would play until 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock in the morning, till I couldn't see anymore. And I was up about $8,000 for the year. So I was kind of
Oh,
going, good
nice.
time to quit. Well,
Yeah,
again, this is like this is like 99, 2000. Oh, it was a different world in gaming at that point, in the sense of the slots were still mechanical. You didn't have the odds that, what was coming online. In fact, one of the things that I thought was real interesting was that I was in the slot manager's office, and he had a big map of the floor with colored pens that were in them. And I was going, what do the colored pens mean? And he was saying, well, that's what we're reprogramming the machines every night. This one's going to ring the bell a lot, but it's not going to give you a lot of money. But you put in $1, it'll give you 75 cents pretty consistently. But it's at the end of the row. It's to draw you in. The
mhm,
psychology was amazing, that of what they used with this. Anyway, so that would get you in the stream of wanting to go. And of course, you're saying, well, this machine's just giving me back. It's slowly taking my money. I'll go try the next machine. Well, the next machine is going to be, it's going to take more of your money. And so anyway, I was asking him, so which color pen is which thing, so I know where the machine to go. And of
right,
course, the answer was, it wasn't exactly this, but the answer was basically, well, if I told you that, I'd have to kill you. But
mm,
that was effectively what he was saying to me. And I said, that's fine. Now, all that's gone now. You have the total artificial intelligence casino floor that's working now. It's analyzing the players. And of course, you now have your player card. Well, that player card really allows to track you through the casino.
Yeah.
And so they know what your habits are. They know what you want to do. If you go into a particular machine now and put that card in, it already knows what you've won or lost. And it changes the odds on that machine right then to you.
It knows your strength. Like you said, it knows how you bet, and it watches you, it's like people, we'll get a lot of retirees down here that want to come because they love the weather. And like I said, we've got
Yeah.
great value here all over.
Yeah, you
So
do.
they're like, well, what should I do? I don't know anybody here. I was like, yeah, I said, go to the casino and get a job. Even if you work 3 times a week, even if you go in for 2 or 3 hours in one of the restaurants or something, you're around people. You're not sitting at home in front of your TV.
Yep.
I
Yep.
think being around people helps people a lot more.
Well, no, that's been proven that
Mhm.
it will keep you younger, more vibrant. I think they gave a list the other day that I saw of the top 10 things that will keep you healthy in your old age. And one of the top ones, amazingly enough, said talking to strangers. That if you interact with people you do not know that are outside of your comfort zone, it does things in your brain that basically keeps you sharp because you're having to interact with people and you don't, if you're going to sit there and you're going to talk to, your friend Bob, or you're going to talk to your cousin Eloise, you know what Eloise is going to say. You've
Oh, yeah.
had conversations with her for years,
Yeah.
but in this particular case, you have to think more about, well, should I say this? Should I not say this? So there's a lot of new challenges that brings for you. And they've proven that wards off dementia. Because
That's good to
dementia
know.
is more of a use it or lose it. Alzheimer's is a disease. So there's really a difference between the two of them.
Okay.
Alzheimer's, something's happening to your chemistry. Dementia, not necessarily so much. There's things you can do that prevent that from happening to you. And this they said this was the number one thing you could do.
Talking to people, strangers.
Talking to strangers.
Yeah, no,
Talking
I
to
totally
strangers.
believe it. I mean, like I tell everybody, it's like, I mean, I think that sometimes it's just, sure, it's like people, do you know them? I'm like, no, no, you talk to them like you know them. I was like, that's just
Yeah.
me. It's Mississippi.
My
I mean,
daughter
it's
gives me
really,
grief because I'll strike up a conversation with a person in the checkout line at the grocery. And I'll go in, well,
yeah.
have you ever had these strawberries before? Or you better check them because they grow mold on the inside of the package. You can't see it unless you open it up.
Wait,
And
she
of course,
rung that up wrong.
yeah. Yeah.
Don't
Well,
let me get
I
away with
did. In
that.
fact, the strawberry story is a true one. I actually did that in the checkout line. And of course, the person who's running the cash register, they don't give a flying flip,
No.
as far as that's concerned. So anyway, they stopped, opened it up, lifted some strawberries. The whole middle of it was white mold. They're
Ooh.
kind of go, whoa, thank you. Appreciate that. You know?
Let me ask you a couple things. We've kind of been all over the place. This has been good. I like talking and meeting new people all over because, I mean, you don't ever know.
Well, who knows? You may have bought yourself 3 years of more longevity here.
May have, could have. Like I tell everybody, if I just move, I'm happy. Just keep
Yeah.
me moving. I'm good.
Yep. Yep.
So when we're thinking about the climate risk and the insurance and all that, you were mentioned, and I want to go back to that. We were talking about the lower interest. Is it almost like a SBA type loan?
It's really much more like there's a combination, I guess, of what we've put together. One is grants that come out of the government specifically for these things.
Okay.
And that's like nail your roof on better, reinforce your house with the shutters. Those are specific programs that most people don't know about. You may live along the Gulf Coast and somebody may have mentioned, oh, hey, well, I think that you can get some money to help harden your house. But
Right.
you got to know where to look. You got to know who to talk to. You got to know how to fill out the paperwork, how to give them what the stuff is that they're going to need. So we just program that all into the system. So we'd basically say there's a package of money available to do this work. The average remediation in the United States is between $10,000 and $1,000. That's the sweet spot to harden your house and qualify for the insurance. So when you look at, say, I'm at $20,000 level, which is kind of there in the middle. I may be able to get $10,000 from the state in the form of a grant in order to give myself a hardened roof or whatever it is that I need to do to the house. Well, what we've done is it's called tokenization, and it basically uses the blockchain technology like crypto, but is not anything like crypto. It just uses that technology to basically be able to create loan pools. They're called green fund pools. And we can actually
Green
be able to
fund.
supplement. and we're able to supplement that government program for the other 10,000 at usually, let's say, 1% or a point and a half below what a home improvement loan would cost you. So now you're getting, so we've already married all of that together for you, so that you know at that point in time that this work's going to cost X, or in this example, $20,000, and that we can pull $10,000 in. And of course, we help you do the paperwork because we've referred the contractor to do the work, and he has to certify to us that he did that work. And so we bundle that information together, send it back to the state, get the contractor paid the $10,000 as opposed to the homeowner, and then the other $10,000 that goes to the contractor gets paid out of the bond fund. And so that's targeted. You can't use that money to fix your kitchen. You can only use that money to fix your house in order to harden it for the weather. But that lowers the availability.
Everything's going up anyway. So, to
Unfortunately,
me,
yes.
I mean, if you can get all that work done for half price, and if you probably, like you said, because in the long run, you're going to save on probably utilities, like if you
Yep.
went and did all your new windows and all the new
And your
insulation
insurance
and
and all the other, yeah.
the
Yeah.
straps and everything they're doing. So
Hmm.
you're gonna save there. And then now, is there tax benefits as well?
There aren't any tax benefits for it right now. We feel that that needs to be a component. We don't think right now in the current political environment you could get that through in order to, because they've cut the funding. I don't know if you're aware of it, but they've cut all remediation funding. There was a pool of $3 billion, and they zeroed that out in this last budget.
How
They've
long does
cut
it
the
take to
FEMA
zero
staff
that
by
out?
50%.
We
But this
do.
too.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say the thing about it is that, you're doing all this right now after we just had one year that was pretty light on disasters. We had
Knock on
one
wood.
hurricane and we had two fires, three fires,
Yeah.
and that's not going to last. I mean, anybody
Uh-uh.
who's lived on the Gulf Coast knows that when hurricane season comes, time to pay attention. You
I mean,
you gotta do
I
that.
keep a list. I mean, it's pretty much, like you said, a bag. I mean, I think just about everybody that lives in the area that's been here all their
Hmm.
life, they have it in their head. They
They
know
know it.
where everything's at, because I'll have friends of mine call me and ask me for the list. I had some buyers that came from Kuwait. Oh gosh, 14 years ago or so. So
Yeah.
they
Yeah.
had no idea what a hurricane or a hurricane was. So we had one coming in over in Alabama, which is pretty close, and that was kind of all I. So I'd actually had helped them book a room, and I took them a bag with all their goodies they needed, and a bag of colors and books for the kids, because
Right.
they had no idea what to do, and they're
No,
living like
they
one
don't.
block from the beach. So it's like, I think you might want to invest in going, drive this 2 hours to the other side of North Alabama, and hopefully you'll be okay.
Well, we know that, these things are going to be more intense. I mean, who would have thought that the people in Asheville, North Carolina would have been hit by a hurricane?
Right? I
I
mean,
mean, that's just, that's the example that I use a lot of times. And unfortunately, I think we're going to see a lot more of those. I think the 100-year flood is now going to be something more like the 50-year flood.
well, I mean, we just had snow in Pascagoula, what,
I
a year
know.
ago
I
or
saw
so?
that
So it seems like,
last
the
winter. Yeah.
climate is rolling around and things are,
Uh huh.
and like I said, we keep losing coastline, but we still keep building on it. And a lot of people say, "How can you live there and deal with that?" I say, "But at least we have time." In most
Hmm.
cases, if a storm's coming, you're going to know in enough time to get gone. You
Hurricanes
know,
give you advance notice. Tornadoes are the ones, and they get spun out of hurricanes. Those are the ones I worry about. I have been in two tornadoes in Mississippi. And one of those tornadoes, of course, there were no sirens. That was out in the middle of nowhere. My grandfather had a cabin on a lake.
oh
And
Lord,
consequently, you hear it coming though. And the weather radar, of course, was beeping, it said the tornado warning, et cetera. So I crawled up into this big stone fireplace that we had
smart.
there. And that was where I went. Now, this house, we lost a few shingles on it, but three doors down, it was a slab that you would have thought was broom cleaned. It was just
Wow.
gone. And in fact, there was three houses that were just gone, that weren't
Hmm.
there anymore, and the others were more severely damaged in that sense. So I've been in I've been in three hurricanes, two tornadoes, and I'm really not trying to buck for getting into an avalanche, or something
No,
similar
I'd
to that.
pass on that.
Yeah. Also, I don't like cold weather, which is why I live here
Me
as far as
neither.
that's concerned. Well, you're in the same thing. I mean, you
Yeah,
just,
I mean, it was
other
like
than,
80 almost today here. Everybody's running around shorts and t-shirts.
yep. Well,
Very
that's
seldom at
standard
Christmas
uniform over
time.
here, but we've had a lot of rain and it's been cold. I was talking to a friend of mine in New York, I guess it was probably last week, and they were going, it's minus 17 where he was going. And I was just kind of going, you got to be kidding me. Anyway, so I said, I was complaining this morning because it got down to 66.
Oh,
And I thought
wow.
I could see his hand reach out for my throat through the phone.
This is one of my favorite times of the year. Everything's blooming, so everything is yellow. All the cars are yellow, and it's
Yep,
like
from all the
maybe
pollen.
one more
Yep.
week, all this will be gone. We need a good rain to level it out, and everybody can
Yep.
breathe again.
I was about to say, put it back into the ground.
Yes.
Yeah, no, that was when I lived in Memphis. We had what we call the yellow purge that
Yes.
would basically come into about it was around Easter, which, Easter this year, I think is first part of April. I know the 29th is Palm Sunday, so add a week to that.
Okay.
But anyway, though, the when that would come through, the pollen situation for people who had pollen reactions, I mean, these people just had to stay inside.
Yeah.
My late wife was like that. There was a bottle of Benadryl in every drawer in every room.
I mean, and you don't even realize it, but you're bringing it in on your clothes. Your
That
pets,
too.
they're coming in
Yep.
with it on them, and that's why I tell a lot of people, if they're gonna have pets, don't do any carpet in their house. It's just
Yeah. No. No. Well,
it's
I don't think
easier.
you should use if you got dogs or cats, you don't need carpet.
No,
Period.
I'm telling you, after I pulled all my floor out after Katrina, I'm like, yeah, I
Yeah.
went with split brick. I don't want no carpet.
You made a wise move,
I
my
want
friend.
something I can take the water hose and spray it, and good to go. Next.
Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely. Well,
Well,
I
why
know
would
that
you give?
what we're trying to do is help people get prepared for this mess. We partner with IBM Climate Intelligence, so we've got all these different models and stuff of what's coming in the next, 5 years, 10 years. In fact, we go all the way out to the year 2100. Now, the accuracy
Wow.
obviously is not great. You get maybe 10, 15% by the time you get out that far. But again, this comes back around to what's the trend. So if you stay
Right.
on this same trend, then that's where you will probably be. But nobody's going to put their name on it and say, yeah, this is absolutely what's going to happen.
Right.
But we built if you go to either of the app stores, we have an app called Magic Window that you can download. And that
Okay.
you can type in your home address and zip code, and
Future
it will tell you
is
what your
that on
risks
that?
are.
Magic
I'm
window and
sorry?
that the
Yeah.
future proof, right? Is that what
Yes.
that as well? Okay.
Yeah, future-proof property intelligence. And when you get to the app, you'll put in your address. It'll pull up a picture of your house because we partner with Google. So
Okay.
we get a picture of your house out of that. And you basically position it to where, if it's too much of a big tree in the yard or whatever, you can zoom in and out and stuff to frame that picture and take it. And then once it does, the AI goes out and figures out what the 7 deadly disasters are that you may be exposed to. And then it scores your house on 1 to 10. So let's say if you're in Northern California, it may come back and say that your house is a wildfire risk of a 7. And it goes on down the line in successive order. Then if you want to know what can I do about it, then you can punch another button that's in the app itself, and it'll say, okay, well, for your wildfire, you can do this, this, and this. This is the kind of things that you can get return on your investment. These are the government grants that are available to help you do that. And if you want to be able to do the remediation or remodeling of the house, you punch another button and it allows you to scan the house. And the AI then does its magic to basically come up with a construction plan on how to do it and how much that'll probably cost and where you can borrow the money and all the other stuff. It's, cradle to grave.
One quick question. On that, I know you said we couldn't put our kitchen in it, but it would almost, I mean, I would guess if you could do the grant to do what you need for the structure and everything else, then if you could get another, I mean, you're still putting value into your house. So if you did want to do the kitchen, you could do it
Yeah.
while the house and everything else is being
But yeah,
redone. Just
especially
just
with
a
all the
different way of paying for it, not through the grant.
exactly. That
And
was
you
one of
might
the
even, I
things
guess,
that
the
the
same contractor.
contractors like the idea because here's a whole, prepackaged plan that they already know roughly what they're going to charge for it. that they can walk out to and the inquiry was already being made from the app that, hey, I'd like to talk to a contractor about it. So when he gets there, he already knows what the problem is. So now if you're going, hey, what would it take for me to add the kitchen? So here he has an upsell opportunity that goes along
Perfect.
with that. So it's a tool to, and also he can go out and set to a neighborhood that maybe somebody didn't make an inquiry, run an ad on Facebook or something and say, hey, we're coming out to your neighborhood next week. How'd you like for us to do a disaster evaluation and score on your house? So, he can use as a door opener tool as well. Our goal is to scan as many houses as possible, as fast as possible, because the AI learns from every house. So we're doing is we're training it in the sense of, okay, well, you had a Cape Cod, but then you over here, you've got a colonial, and over here you've got a Georgian. So all houses are different. And so it has to understand how to interpret those. We give it the base information for like building codes and general construction engineering, and it knows that wood burns and that cement siding doesn't, those basic things. But when you start getting into each of these individual houses, it has to learn that. And so it's part of our wanting to get as many people to use the app as soon as possible, because it just gets smarter over time to be able to do that. That NVIDIA, which I'm sure you've probably heard of them, there's the hottest stock on earth. They have now taken us into their Inception program and are giving us tools to put into our software
That's
that it can,
awesome.
when it looks at a house, we don't have, before we had a little questionnaire. In other words, what are your windows? Aluminum, vinyl, wood, etc. What's the siding on it? We would have to query that to the homeowner. The software from that we're integrating of theirs, it knows. It looks at it and it says, I know that's wood siding. I know that's
Nice.
brick. So it saves a step. We're trying to, the whole idea is to make a low cost experience to a homeowner so that he doesn't have to go pay for engineering. He doesn't have to pay for a contractor to evaluate the house. He doesn't have to pay a home inspector to come in and do this work. He can do all of that himself by just walking around his house or
And
inside of his house.
and y'all have
So
the experience for sure. Because how long you been in this? Like 50 something years?
I've been in licensed general contractor for 25 years. I was in finance for 12 years before that, and I started my business career 55 years ago now, and building lighting and special effects for big hair rock bands.
I love the 80s hair. Oh my God, the hair bands.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's like, if you went to a show and you saw lasers, we were some of the first people to use lasers. If we did one thing, it was a fire breathing dragon that came out of the woods and blew fire over the first 10 rows. You get to watch
Wow.
all the little kids wet themselves. It's great fun.
Well, we need to get the word out and tell everybody. And give me the app again.
Sure. The app itself is at both stores. It's called Magic Window. And so you can find it by doing a search on those. It's a free app. If you want a detailed report, it's $24. You have a report you can print
Okay.
that has the information in it. And then the website itself is futureproof.org, and it talks about what we're doing. We also right now have a stock offering that's for the retail investors, that you can buy stock for as little as $100. And that we're registered security. Our audit reports are there. It's handled through netcapital.com that's handling our offering. So there's different ways people can participate. Download the app, find out what your problem is, and do something about it. We're a public benefit corporation, which means we have to weigh the people that we serve equally to our shareholders,
Okay.
which is different from a just pure for profit or a nonprofit. So it's kind of blended. And of course, we started out as a nonprofit 7 years ago, developing materials that you could build your house with to make it hurricane proof and fireproof and stuff like that. So we've got a long history of working in this sector. Our construction company specializes in going in and doing climate extreme weather remediation. We just finished a dozen condos that are up on blocks. They're post and beam. So they're already sitting a couple of feet off the ground. But with sea level rise, and what we're predicting here is 3 feet over the next 20 years. They'd been there 55 years already.
Right.
And so all of the metal was rusted away. It's sitting right there 40 feet from the water. And so they literally were like a four-legged table sitting on a concrete patio.
Yeah.
There wasn't anything holding them down. And they were all within 25 feet of each other and two-story. If one of them goes over, it's going to be like
Yeah.
dominoes. So, we worked on that for about a year with guys crawling underneath the houses with 5-gallon buckets of concrete. And basically,
Wow.
we think we bought them 20 to 25 years with the rework that we did. But
That's
again,
good.
each one of them is special. And the thing that we learned from what we've been doing has gone into the AI in the sense of these different situations, because every house is a little different. Your house may have had more maintenance. Maybe you added on to the house.
Right.
These were condos, so they were all cookie cuttered. But people put a screen porch on. They bumped the wall out in order for grandma to move in. So there's from the time that you built it, when you figure the average age is 60 years, people will have done something to the house,
Yeah.
odds are. And that's not captured anywhere. In fact, even with the databases for real estate now, like Zillow, and Realtor.com and stuff, the information that they've got is only as current as the last time the house was sold,
Correct. Yeah.
because you guys go out there and you put it into the system and you have to fill out a form to do that.
Yeah.
But it may not have been done for 40 years. My mother passed away. She had been in that house for 78 years, same
Wow.
house. Okay. And that house had been modified and, the wall was bumped out for a bay window. This was done to this. So any of the records that you would have gone back to the building department, if they even existed, to be able to be digitized are all wrong. So we see that also in doing these scans for the house, we're building a new database for the real estate market. We're building a new database for government and emergency responders. We're building a new database for the mortgage and the insurance people that basically says, this is what's sitting on the ground that I'm going to sell. This is what's sitting on the ground that I'm going to insure. Because frankly, insurance companies, the granularity on what they look at is by zip code. So if you feel that you have too high risk in a neighborhood, that whole zip code gets blocked out and you can't buy insurance.
Wow.
And we feel that this also, with them knowing what sits on your property, and if it has a risk and you fix that risk, then you're going to be in a posture to be able to get the insurance discount. And also, the insurance companies may be able to write your insurance. Say there's 200 houses that they couldn't write in your neighborhood because of the risk, and you fixed yours up. Well, great, they can write yours now, but you still got 199 houses that haven't been written as yet.
You've got the one. You got the lucky
That's right.
one.
Yeah, that's right. And you have a chance that with the system, since you're not having to hire an engineer, you're not having all that upfront cost
No,
that's
I mean, and a
associated
lot
with
of
what you
times
got to
you try
do.
to get an engineer or any contractors, any of them out, now everybody's wanting a little bit of gas money just to come out and visit with you and do. And it's like, it gets into, well, you need to call this one for this and this. It can add up pretty
Yeah.
quick.
Well, we're
But
trying to also level the playing field with the insurance and the real estate market, in the sense that the insurance company says, I'm not writing you. You don't know why. You have no clue. You just know that we're not going to write your house. Okay. In this case, if you have one of our reports, that's the same report the insurance company has. Now you're on a level playing field. You know what they're seeing is the same thing that you're seeing. And so that's one of the things we thought was real important, is to democratize the data so that it's not all being held over here. Because you have this war or animosity that goes on between insurance and people at their house. The homeowner's basically going, I hate you. You're a bunch of SOBs, because you raised my rate 50%. Whereas the insurance company is going, why don't you love me anymore? I've been with you for 20 years now. So we're trying to kind of break through that barrier psychologically too, that the insurance company is not a bad guy. It's just the math isn't working for them anymore. It's not feasible for them to do it. And that's really most homeowners don't know how insurance works anyway, in terms of risk pools, and offloading risk to reinsurance. It's a complex industrial strategy, for lack of a better term. You just know that you got to have it because you got a
yep,
mortgage,
yeah,
and that if you don't have it, you're in foreclosure. And those are the just hard facts about it. And or you can't afford it, which is the same thing. It gets you to the same spot. You're still in a foreclosure because
Well,
you
that
have no insurance.
insurance, I know a lot of it, like, well, since Katrina, where I'm at in Pascagoula, there used to be like one or two streets down by the beach that was kind of a flood
Yeah.
zone. That was it. Now the whole town's in a flood zone. But in order, like, to qualify for any grant money or anything like that, you have to continue to carry the flood insurance, even if you
You
don't
do.
have a mortgage. If you want
Yeah.
any assistance from the government, you have to carry the flood policy,
It's
which
gonna
is
one of the things we're seeing too is that in these risk zones, they've determined now that you have about a 1.2% depreciation per year in terms of the value of your house. That came out with the Board of Realtors about a month ago, I guess it
nice.
was, from a study they did. So if you're in a risk area, you're losing money every year. So if
Hmm.
you figure this is your piggy bank for retirement or the kids' education or whatever it is, you have a losing investment. It's like bleeding to death by 1,000 cuts. Because if you figure that it's 1.2% now, that's probably going to go up because people are becoming more aware.
Right.
The realtor board in California, got into a big beef with Zwillow and dropped putting the risk factors that came from First Street on the Zwillow listings because they basically said, our sales are down 4.5%. Well, they were down 4.5% because these particular houses are in a risk area. And so
Right.
they just wanted that information scrubbed from everything because, of course, real estate business ain't great right now.
No.
But it runs this cycle. My family was in rental property for 75 years. We
Wow.
saw ups and downs all the time. This year, great, you're a hero. Next year, you're a pauper. And that's just kind of the nature of the business to a degree, which of course all ties back into the interest rates that
True.
are associated with it. And also the fact that we do not have enough housing stock. We need a lot more housing stock. We're down, I don't know, I don't remember what the last number was a million plus homes that we could, if we built them tomorrow, there's demand for them.
I
Yeah.
mean, land right now, just to even to get a couple acres, it's hard to find anything. I
Well,
mean,
over here, an acre of land in an area like my neighborhood, drum roll please,
no doubt.
$750,000
Is that a
for an
whole
acre.
acre?
That's for all. Yeah. Well, it's all built on the side of a mountain, so now you got
Okay.
the construction cost to level yourself out of place. Now it's kind of like I have to have hurricane insurance, and I'm at 1,300 feet and 7 miles from the ocean. I have an ocean view from being up on the mountain,
Right.
but I'm still odds of me having a hurricane that's going to inflict great deals of damage to me is pretty low. And
Right. Okay.
historically, because I'm on the west side of this island and I have two of the tallest mountains on earth behind me, the other side of the island gets smacked.
Oh.
Whereas we may get a 65-mile-an-hour wind over here and some rain while they're taking the hit at 100, 120-mile-an-hour hurricane making landfall.
And you say
Fortunately,
that,
and
and it
often.
seems like every storm the last years have gotten stronger and stronger and stronger. You know? It's like
Yeah.
usually it's
And
like,
well,
oh,
that's the
you'll
ocean
get
gets
70, 80
warmer and
mile an
warmer
hour
and warmer.
winds. Yeah,
Yeah.
now it's like 160 mile an hour winds. Yeah.
Yeah.
There's definitely a lot
Yeah.
going on, that's for sure. Definitely a lot
Yeah.
going
And
on
like
in
I said,
everything.
we don't get into the argument about why. That's somebody else's science.
Right,
Our science is the fact that if it's getting bad and they're canceling all these different government programs, that if you got hit, you're going to have a safety net for yourself with it. And all of those programs have been defunded for the most part, great majority of them. Then you're on your own. There's nobody
yeah,
coming to the White Knight with a rescue. So we basically say that you got to prepare. If you're on your own and you understand that, you need to be able to prepare because the weather will get worse, odds are. And if it doesn't, great, hallelujah. But
right.
if it is, then if you're not going to be prepared, you're putting both your financial future and your safety of your family at risk. And
Yeah,
so what we've tried to do is figure out how can you cost effectively educate people on what they need to know, give them the tools that they need to fix it, and help them have the money to do it.
and doing it right. And then a person, like you said, they will be a licensed contractor and all that's basically set up
Absolutely.
and
Yeah, because you have to have that really done that way professionally. You can do it DIY, but then you have to pay to have an inspector come in and check that you did it right. Now maybe you save enough money to have to pay $500 for an inspection. Hey, but on average, we think that if people who are building homes would make them more resilient, it's only going to add 3% to the price of building a house. But if you've ever been being a contractor and knowing a lot of them, if they can put 5 nails in your shingle instead of the 7 it's supposed to have, you're
Right.
going to get 5 nails.
Well, yeah, it totally makes sense,
Yeah, that's
And
just the
then
nature of the business. It's nickels and dimes.
if the roof
That's your
is
profit
gone,
margin.
we can build you a new one. That's
That's
right.
right. That's
Well,
right.
Ben, I've
Exactly.
enjoyed meeting you, and I mean,
Absolutely. You too, sir.
we've talked a lot of stuff, and I hope everybody finds some value in it. And
I hope so.
if anybody's got any
You're
questions,
going
they
to
can
learn a
just
lot. Anything else you need to know about anything, give me a ring. I'm
we
always
definitely
available.
will. Thank
It's my
y'all. I hope y'all
job.
had a great
Y'all take
day.
care. Bye.
Thanks.
Have
Bye
a
bye.
great one. Bye bye.
Thank y'all again for taking the time to come along my venture with me. I am Patrick Merrill, and I hope you have been lifted. If not, let me know. We'll figure out a way. There's always a way. Thank y'all again for watching. Please like, share, and subscribe, and tell your friends. Y'all have a great day.